Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. The government abandons the LeaveHomeSafe app as it eases more COVID restrictions. The tourism trade heaves a sigh of relief as the Amber Code becomes history. And Jimmy Lai's national security trial is pushed back again, this time to next September. Hong Kong people will no longer have to check into premises with the LeaveHomeSafe app, as the government relaxed a string of pandemic measures. Most frontline workers will not have to go for regular PCR tests, but students will still have to conduct RAT tests daily. From midnight, Hong Kongers will no longer have to jostle for space outside supermarkets or restaurants, just so they can point their phones at a QR code. In a significant relaxation, the government is scrapping a legal requirement for people to record their places of visit with the LeaveHomeSafe app. It came just days after officials conceded it was rarely using the tool to track down close contacts. However, the vaccine pass, which is often associated with LeaveHomeSafe, will remain. That raised confusion as to whether the app is still necessary.
But you can actually show the vaccine pass with different means, including the e-health system. You can also screen capture the vaccine pass, as well as use a paper version of the vaccine pass.
Low later clarified that premises where the vaccine pass is required will still need to perform checks at the door.
The active checking, the scanning of your vaccine pass remains unchanged. But our citizens are not required to scan anything. The restaurant, bars, or these scheduled premises, they will need to scan the vaccine pass of the client, the customer.
Apart from the app, authorities are getting rid of tracking bracelets for people serving home quarantine, with Low saying there are enough safeguards to prevent them from leaving. The government is also dialing back on the PCR testing regime. Regular tests for most occupations will be abandoned, except for high-risk workers such as staff at hospitals and homes for the elderly. Students and teachers, however, will still need to perform daily RAT tests before going to school. Center for Health Protection Controller Edwin Cho said the latest outbreak seemed to have plateaued, noting a daily average of 11,000 to 14,000 infections over the past week, including another 13,721 cases today. Hong Kong's tourism sector has welcomed the decision to allow COVID-free travelers to enter premises, such as restaurants, as soon as they arrive in the city. The Amber Code in the LeaveHomeSafe app will be scrapped from tomorrow, allowing arrivals to visit so-called high-risk venues without having to wait for 3 days. Macy Mock reports.
The government has eased more COVID curbs, including scrapping the Amber Code on the LeaveHomeSafe app. From tomorrow, overseas arrivals who are not infected with COVID may enter high-risk premises such as restaurants and gyms after leaving the airport, instead of waiting for 3 days. But they still have to take at least 2 PCR tests and 5 days of self-administered tests. Those with COVID will be given a red code.
為咗平衡本港嘅經濟發展。
Health Secretary Lo Chong-mao said the government took economic growth into consideration as it relaxed restrictions to open Hong Kong to the world. He said most imported cases were detected through PCR tests at the airport. The tourism sector, which has been hard hit by COVID restrictions, welcomed the government's decision.
It will benefit not only the tourism industry in Hong Kong, it will benefit also the retail sectors and restaurants, transportation, and even the airline they may get more requirement or demand to operate more flights coming in.
The travel trade is welcoming this relaxation, this measure. So to get rid of the amber code, so it would be much easier for us to arrange the restaurant for the dine-in service. So we're glad to have this new measure.
Yeung expects the number of group tours to rise significantly during Christmas, with up to 2,000 arriving for package holidays each day. The Tourism Board and Cathay Pacific also hailed the latest move. Hong Kong's flagship carrier said it will encourage people to visit the city, adding that it's on track to reach 1/3 of pre-pandemic passenger flights by the end of this year. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
The former editor-in-chief of Stand News has been granted bail nearly 1 year after being arrested on a sedition charge. But Chung Pui-kun must observe a slew of restrictions, including surrendering his travel documents, reporting to police weekly, and refraining from media interviews. The 52-year-old was among 7 people arrested last year for conspiring to publish seditious materials. Chung's right-hand man at the online news outlet, Patrick Lam, was released on bail last month. Their trial began in October, but was adjourned on the 5th day when the prosecution suddenly presented boxes of new evidence. National Security Judge Kwok Wai-kin will later rule on the defense request for a permanent stay of proceedings. The national security trial of Jimmy Lai has been postponed for a second time, pending a ruling by Beijing on whether a British barrister can represent the media mogul. The new date has been set for next September. Janice Low reports.
Security outside the High Court was beefed up ahead of the arrival of a prison van carrying Jimmy Lai. Some officers were armed with automatic rifles. Lai and 3 companies linked to the now-defunct Apple Daily were charged with conspiring to collude with foreign forces and publishing seditious materials. The trial was set to begin today, but prosecutor Anthony Chow asked that it be postponed to next month. This was because Beijing has yet to respond to the chief executive's request to clarify whether an overseas lawyer can be involved in national security cases. Chow expects a decision to be made when the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress meets later this month. However, senior counsel Robert Pang, who is representing Lai, said the Standing Committee might not respond to the request as it is not included on the agenda. Pang asked if the prosecution assumed that the interpretation request would be rubber-stamped by Beijing. He proposed adjourning the case to October. That's because Tim Owen, the British lawyer Lai wants to hire, would have finished another case in Hong Kong by then. Pang refuted that Owen has left the city after the Immigration Department refused to extend his visa. Judge Esther To then decided to start the trial on September 25th. The proceedings are expected to last 40 days. Earlier, 74-year-old Lai applied to hold his trial on the grounds that the absence of a jury deprives him of the right to a fair hearing. The court will decide in May on the stay of proceedings bid. Lai, who has been remanded for 2 years, will remain in custody. Janice Low, HKIBC.
The chief executive says Hong Kong will continue to press Google to ensure that the correct national anthem appears on its search results.
Any organization, any responsible organization should act in such a way to ensure that the national anthem is played correctly, to respect, first of all, each country's national anthem, to respect each country's law, and also to respect the people of that country. And I think that is a universal principle. And if any company is in any way responsible, he has that moral obligation.
Li's remarks came after a protest song instead of the March of the Volunteers was played at recent sports events overseas. The organizers blamed the blunder on inexperienced staff searching the internet for the Chinese anthem. Google said search results were based on algorithms. Li did not say if the government will buy advertisements on Google to get the desired result. The United States is pressing Japan and the Netherlands to tighten chip-related exports to China. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said Washington has spoken to its allies as it tries to deprive Beijing of chips made anywhere in the world with U.S. equipment. Japanese Trade Minister Yasutoshi Nishimura acknowledged discussing various issues with his U.S. counterpart, but refused to give details. The curbs are the latest U.S. attempt to stop China gaining a technological edge. The Hang Seng Index rose 0.7% today as investors welcomed the further relaxation of COVID measures. But the biggest gainers were mainland chip companies, following reports that Beijing plans to spend 1 trillion yuan to boost the semiconductor industry. Hua Hong Semiconductor surged 17.4%, while SMIC closed almost 10% higher. Guangzhou RNF Properties slumped 11.5% after co-founder Zhang Li was arrested in London over allegations of bribery to win contracts in the United States. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng closed the day up by 132 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tencent picked up 80 cents. Meituan was up $3.60, while Kuaishou Technology was up $3.05. AIA Insurance was up by $1.80, while the Tracker Fund was up 15 cents. The Forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the Euros at 8.2, Pound sterling at 9.56, while the Australian dollar at 5.27. Over in Europe, the London FTSE is currently up by 30 points. On to the weather now. The cold snap continues with tomorrow's temperature between 12 and 14 degrees. Winds and rain will get stronger in the next couple of days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Tuesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Raymond Yeung. Good night.